Welcome back on in, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, to Settling the Kingdom, here with Mike Settle of the Sports Buffoons, running a solo with you guys today once again. And today I want to talk about the Chiefs changing of the guard, the Chiefs' change of direction within the franchise. We are now witnessing what I see to be a mini rebuild among this team. And that's exciting, guys, because we're not going to be seeing the same old guys go out there and trot out there and try to win this thing. They're going to be doing it with a completely different, restructured group of guys on this team. Tyrann Mathieu is gone. Tyreek Hill traded away, which was a big shock to the entire fan base. And there was a lot of fans out there that were upset and pissed off and didn't understand how you could be giving up, the most explosive player in the history of the Kansas City Chiefs, especially at 28 years old. But the fact of the matter was the Chiefs had found themselves in salary cap hell. And for them to make any moves whatsoever to build up the middle range of this roster, they had to make a move like that to send Tyreek Hill off to Miami and to get draft picks in return that are going to help out this year, as well as a couple extra draft picks next year as well. So with that said, this offers so much flexibility within this roster, and it's going to be super exciting to see how this draft unfolds. Plenty of guys that I have on my radar right now at picks 29 and 30, and then 50, of course, as well. And the Chiefs could move around. I mean, they're not set in stone to have to sit in that position. And I could easily see Brett Veach making a move to where he wants to get up further into the draft, into the middle first round, to go get a pass rusher of his choice, rather than sitting back and waiting, because they have the ammunition to get it done. And they can still sit there and get another young rookie wide receiver, either in the beginning of the second round or with that pick number 30 as well. Just a matter of how the board falls and who's going to be available at that spot. But I think what we're seeing with Veach right now is he has a plan of attack to go into this draft and get the positions we need and the guys that he wants. He did this last year with the offensive line, completely rebuilding the entire thing, and he did it primarily, at least half of the offensive line, I should say, through the draft. And end up hitting on both picks. I mean, Trey Smith as a sixth-round pick was amazing. And then Creed Humphrey ends up being right away top 3 center in the entire league. That's great. I think that Brett Veach sees it in his mind. He has the capability to go after some of these edge rushers. And the first one I want to talk about here with you guys is Jermaine Johnson Ii from Florida State. Redshirt senior, 6'5", 254 pounds, actually transferred from Georgia. So once again, another former Bulldog in the mix within this draft class, which is just loaded with talent all over the place. But this guy ended up going to Florida State, had 11.5 sacks and 17.5 tackles for a loss. Both of those led the ACC. And it's arguably, he's probably the biggest winner during Senior Bowl weeks as well, standing out, and then at the combine running a 4.58 40-yard dash, as well as a 1.55 10-yard split. 34-inch arms as well. So, I mean, the guy has all the physical tools you want to see from what's going to potentially be an elite pass rusher right away when he comes into the NFL. I'm excited to see how this guy develops, but I don't know that he's necessarily going to be the best option on the board for the Chiefs when it comes time for them to pick, because there's a few other guys, too, I want to bring up, and someone who's actually undersized that I like quite a bit. Arnold Ebiketie from Penn State. He's 6'2", 250 pounds. You might be thinking that's a little too small to be a defensive end on this Chiefs defense. He did have 9.5 sacks and 18 tackles for loss this year. But I just think that this guy has a lot of explosion off the line of scrimmage to create that havoc, as well as, hey, even though he's 6'2", 34.25-inch arms, so long arms as well, and active hands. I think that he's going to immediately step in and at the very least fill in as a situational third down pass rusher, which could eventually develop into being a full-time starter along the defensive line. So I could see the Chiefs actually sitting back and letting him fall to them there at the end of the first round, whereas I could see Jermaine Johnson being your guy that you go up and get maybe somewhere in the mid-rounds if he falls to that area. And one more guy that's caught my eye as well that we've been seeing in a lot of mock drafts recently for the Chiefs is Boye Mafe as well from Minnesota. 6'4", 261 pounds, and pretty similar as far as Jermaine Johnson goes within the height, weight, speed situation. Ran a 4.53 40-yard dash and a 1.59 10-yard split. And this is a guy I could easily see the Chiefs end up taking a stab at here at the very end of the first round if they stay put within the 29th and 30th pick. he should be there most likely. And I would not be opposed to that move either. I just think the Chiefs are going to have to play this here situationally. So if a guy's falling in the first round that should be a top 10 pick, all of a sudden he's falling down to 15th overall, then yeah, absolutely. Make that move, Brett Veach. Get up there, trade up for him, make that move to get an elite pass rusher. Meanwhile, if the defensive ends are going quick off the board, how about we don't panic? How about we don't reach? How about we take it, look at this whole thing at a grand scale and understand that the Chiefs can also sit back and still get quality guys at the end of the first round or even in the third round. There's some guys out there that I really like physically on the field. Sam Williams from Ole Miss obviously has many off-the-field concerns, but as a player on the field, I love his game tape. He's amazing. Next thing I want to get into here with you guys is just the restructuring of the wide receiver position for the Chiefs right now, because the only one left on this team from the past couple of years is Mecole Hardman. We can look at Marcus Kemp as a special teamer. It doesn't count, guys. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about guys that are actually on the field, on the offense, when things count. And Tyreek Hill is gone. Byron Pringle is gone. Demarcus Robinson is gone. Hey, we're cool with that, right? Yeah, sometimes we got to cut the dead weight, every once in a while. So, but guys, I was pretty surprised by the departure of Byron Pringle from this team, because this was a guy who, even though he is overaged, didn't get to the NFL until he was 24 years old and has been kind of a late bloomer. I really saw him as a guy who just fit in well with this offense and just always was doing the right things within to help this team. So it is a surprise for me to see him go. And then Tyreek Hill, obviously, the Chiefs got their haul from him. But to replace these guys, now we're looking at Juju Smith-Schuster. And then we're looking at Marquez Valdes-Scantling now as a member of the Chiefs. And Scantling's going to bring, the deep threat. Scantling has been a guy in the past that has been catching the deep threat bombs from Aaron Rodgers, and something he can bring to the Chiefs once again. I think that teams will have to be adjusting back to maybe the way that they were covering Kansas City a few years ago, before everyone started doing this whole, cover two, where you play two safety high against the team. And I think you're going to see a little bit more mixture, because that was all about defending the speed of Tyreek Hill. Other teams were tired of getting burned. They forced the Chiefs to play underneath, where now they're going to have to rethink and reassess the way that they want to strategize this whole thing. Because now you're looking at the Chiefs added as well running back Ronald Jones to the mix, who's one of the best inside the tackles running backs in the entire league. In fact, statistically, only was behind Derrick Henry since 2020. And man, as well, if you guys have been following this show here for a while at Sports Buffoons, you guys know I have this bias about Ronald Jones. I just think he is a phenomenal running back with just impressive explosion, strength, speed. He's got a little bit of everything that you want to see, other than maybe having the ideal handset. He has some drops here and there, but we'll not worry about that right now anyway. His explosion. And if you guys are bored anytime, go back and just rewatch some of his highlights from USC, and you're going to watch a running back who just has it all. In fact, back then, Pro Football Focus does the rating system, and he was the number one rated running back from the 2017 USC from that season, from all of college football. And so even back then, the guy was just amazing, gets to the pros, goes to the Buccaneers, has a slow beginning, but this is the kind of thing, we saw Priest Holmes come over from the Baltimore Ravens back in 2001, and, the guy over there could have been the starter there, but Jamal Lewis was still there in the backfield. So they had to cut bait with that, whereas in this situation, the Buccaneers are happy because they still have Leonard Fournette, and he's being productive. The Chiefs are going to end up getting an amazing steal out of this one-year deal for Ronald Jones, and it's a win-win situation on that one. Speaking of one-year deals, Juju Smith-Schuster as well, another win-win situation. You're going to be getting at least 1 year production from a hungry guy that has a lot to prove, that's only 25 years old. Both of these guys are, by the way. And so I just think that you're going to see guys that are going to be fighting for those, 3, 4, 5 year contracts next season to really get that true money for the future of themselves. Because no one likes 1 year deals. When you get a 1 year deal as a player, that's basically you're giving into the team at that point. All players want long-term guaranteed money, and these guys all have something to prove and something to fight for. And I just think that Juju Smith-Schuster getting his head on straight with a quarterback that can throw further than 15 yards, I think that's going to be huge. for Juju. I think it's going to be huge for his mentality towards the game as well, and being around a quarterback who is, focused and driven and wants to succeed, and always telling guys, hey, don't stop your route, keep running. He's gone over this with Mecole Hardman 100 times. And yeah, is Hardman figuring it out? I don't know if he ever really will, but at least he's better because of Mahomes. Definitely not worse. So in this situation with a guy who has some immaturity issues, like a Juju Smith-Schuster, I'm not concerned at all about this. It's a 1-year rental, and Patrick's going to get the most out of him that he can. Now, one more thing before I wrap it up with you guys here is I want to talk about some of the fan base I'm hearing that are concerned about the rest of the AFC West and the AFC improving in general. And it's true. It's going to be a bloodbath this year, and I can't wait to see it unfold. We're going to see some of the most competitive games that we've ever seen out of a certain conference. And so, with that said, I mean, the Chiefs found themselves the last few years with a very top-heavy AFC, where the top teams were literally the Chiefs, Bills, Titans. And, that's what it's been the last couple of years. Chiefs have not had that much competition to have to fight for getting to the Super Bowl. And, we saw them go up against the Buccaneers 2 years ago and get stomped. The Chiefs weren't necessarily a battle-tested team. And now suddenly we're looking at the AFC, and we just saw the Bengals go to the Super Bowl. We saw Joe Burrow go out and battle against Patrick Mahomes and get a victory. And we're seeing the Patriots win 10 games the year after Tom Brady leaves. I mean, that's impressive enough as it is to draft Mac Jones and go out there and get 10 wins. That just shows you the kind of coach Bill Belichick is. The Miami Dolphins are now loaded with talent, you guys. That's going to be a really, really good team. And I liked them even before the addition of Tyreek Hill and the addition of Teron Armstead at left tackle. This is going to be a very, very solid team that will contend with the Bills in the AFC East. Obviously, the AFC West, the Chargers are getting better. Broncos got better. Raiders look to be better too. I mean, all these teams are getting better. The Ravens should be back up above 500 this year after going 8-9. The Colts, they should be improved as well. It is crazy to think about the amount of competition the AFC is going to see. But I don't want you guys to forget this. None of those teams have the total package here in the AFC of having a Patrick Mahomes with one of the best coaches of all time of Andy Reid. We could talk about Bill Belichick, but Mac Jones doesn't hold a candle to what Patrick can do. And so I just want us to make sure we understand here as a group, as a fan base, that the games still have to be played. And so at the end of the day, we could talk about all the improvements and the Chargers and some of their additions that they've done. And now, every year we hear about the Chargers are going to steal the AFC West from the Chiefs. Okay, we hear this every damn year. And does it ever happen? No. I mean, one day it might, but goddamn. I mean, how many times are we wrong? I mean, you can't just keep saying it over and over again, and then one day you get lucky, and then boom, you're right about the Chargers. Because that's what all I hear every single year about from the national media. And now we're looking at power rankings and this and that, and some of these major media companies are now putting their Chiefs like outside the top 10. Are you kidding me? I mean, the games still have to be played, and the offseason's not over. The Chiefs' additions to this team, they have 12 draft picks. They're not done. And even with the additions of Marquez Valdes-Scantling and Ronald Jones and Jermaine Carter from the Panthers, Chiefs still have plenty of salary cap right now. There's a lot of moves that can be done to improve the whole entirety of this roster before we roll over into September and start playing real games. And so, with that said, don't let the noise get to you. Don't let the other people out there, don't be getting worried about what other teams are doing or saying. Because, yeah, it's their time to be excited and confident. It's now our time to fight back and prove we're still the top dog. Because after that loss to the Bengals last year, the Chiefs should be upset, should be pissed off. We should be wanting to get back to being the top dog again. And I think this is what we're walking into right now, is this is stage number 2 of Patrick Mahomes' career. We saw the first stage, goes out, has an MVP season, wins a Super Bowl, and puts on really the greatest beginning to an NFL career of all time. And now we're going to see Patrick Mahomes in the middle of his prime here, as he's in his now 26 years old coming up season. We're going to be seeing now that middle part of his career that's going to extend from here to probably 32 years old. And who are the young guys the Chiefs are bringing onto this team right now that are going to be along for that ride? We are seeing the mini rebuild before our eyes, and this is stage 2 of Patrick Mahomes' young career. With all that said, you guys, thanks so much for listening in, and I will see y'all on the next one.